Hello, my name is Tethlwyn Penry. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. Today I'm going to have a little chat about recognising our talents. You know, this is often a cry I've heard from people on a pagan path, spiritual path, people who feel they are witches, but where do they go from here? And often they sort of will say, how do I recognise my talents? And I think the important thing to remember is that each and every one of us has at least one talent. And the important thing is not to worry about it. The more we get on with living, the more we get on with raising our awareness, the more we get on with doing things that we enjoy, that's where our talents lie. A talent is rarely going to lie in the direction of something we don't want to do. Something which annoys us, irritates us, something which bores us, something which we find so difficult it's like trying to fight mist. They are never really going to be our talents. So while I would always say explore new things, of course, but our talents lie in things we like doing, in things we find that we are good at. Sometimes we don't know what we're good at until we start trying. So this is in no way telling you just do what you like and don't learn anything new. That's not it. What I'm saying is always be open to new ideas, new experiences, new skills, learning new skills. Never shut down on those because they are the way forward. But also realise that your talents are likely to lie in the direction of things you actually enjoy doing. So if you don't know what your talents are, and if it bothers you, start heading off in the direction of things you really like doing. And I think that's important. You know, you may find you like doing divination, but you may find you feel you're not very good at it. Well, if that's the case, then because you like it, I would say definitely go and learn more about it. Go and find out more. You may find that you really love doing something. Carry on with it. You see, the trouble nowadays is that we're made to feel that some talents are much more worthy than others. It may always have been the case, I don't know. But we're made to feel, for example, that, let's say being a doctor is more worthy than being someone who plays the piano as a hobby. But who's to say that the music you play doesn't soothe the spirit of someone who needs soothing? You see? Something that a doctor may not have time to do, may not be able to do, other than chemically. But with the music that you play, you actually soothe someone. You bring them peace. The same with writing poetry. Why should writing poetry be considered less than being a physicist? I mean, let's face it, science has done some awful things. I mean, you could say that inventing an atomic bomb is not exactly something to be proud of. On the other hand, you may think, no, it has advanced mankind no end. Well, fair enough. But what about poetry? Poetry may lift the spirits, lift the soul, encourage us to seek after other truths. Sometimes a simple phrase can stick in our minds. I mean, the beginning of every year, just about, I will find some sort of quote that I stick in my diary and I say, yeah, that's what's going to be my guiding quote for this year. Sometimes I end up with several quotes, sometimes it's just the one. Some years I'm late getting started, but it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is that when we are creative, this is no less. I believe the world needs more poets, singers, people who make things, people who do things. I always used to think with my mother-in-law, she was absolutely wonderful at knitting. And I always used to think with her that she had created every single stitch in what she made. Every single stitch. There was never a point at which somebody else knitted a stitch for her. There was never a point at which the stitch was made mechanically. Every single stitch was made by putting the needle in, the wool around, and taking it back. I mean, obviously, knitting patterns are a little more complicated than that, but it used to completely overawe me sometimes. The simplicity and yet the work that went into these things. And you see, when you make and you do and you create, this is all part of your talents. You might have a talent for reading to someone, reading to children. It's a great talent. Don't put it down. You reading bedtime stories to your children or grandchildren, it's fantastic. You're teaching them to love books. You're teaching them the wonder of what can lie between the pages of a book. You might be one of those people who sits and does colouring with your children. Fantastic. You are teaching, you are passing on skills. And this is one of the most important things we can do, passing on our skills. Not just as witches. You don't have to be a witch or a pagan even to realise the truth of that. But I really think it's important, this belief in trying to pass skills on. That's a talent. Teaching is a talent. I mean, teaching is something that's terribly denigrated nowadays. The same as nursing is very denigrated nowadays. There are lots of people who nurse sick relatives and friends who are not trained nurses, but they still do the important part of it. And the important part of that is caring. And again, we're not a terribly caring society nowadays. So the more care we can put into society, the more we are doing our little bit. And the important thing, I think, is not to feel we have to do loads. We've become obsessed with quantifying things, with being able to weigh it, add it up and count it. But that's not really what it's all about. However little we manage to do, it could be a tiny bit like that. Tiny bit of caring, tiny bit of teaching. Little and often. But it mounts up. And if everybody did it, can you imagine how different the world would be? And that is what finding your talents is about. Keep it simple, keep it small, keep it regular, and enjoy it most of all, because joy is the greatest gift we can give to mankind and to the world. Anyway, that's enough from me, I think. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Goodbye.